Long before concrete learned posture, before rails pierced grasslands, before clocks governed breath, this place already existed as a knowing landscape. What people call Nairobi today once answered to water, movement, memory, and sky rhythm. No towers, no traffic, only open plains listening. This territory rested within a highland basin where clouds gathered without permission. Seasonal wetlands shimmered beneath sun glare, forming channels that fed life quietly. Indigenous tongues named the waters Ankare, not as ownership, but as recognition. Flow mattered more than borders. Here, human presence arrived earlier than stories admit. Footprints pressed into volcanic soil, while elsewhere silence dominated. Nearby valleys preserved stone tools shaped by hands unafraid of time. Obsidian blades, balanced through instinct, whispered intelligence long preceding alphabets. The ground around present-day Nairobi watched humanity practice becoming itself. Wild migrations carved invisible highways. Antelope shadows crossed dawn fog. Elephant paths became memory roads. Predators followed order older than crowns. This region functioned as a living corridor, movement without walls, survival without conquest. Pastoral communities arrived not as invaders, rather as listeners. Ma-speaking peoples guided cattle through seasonal knowledge encoded inside stars. Hooves respected rainfall cycles. Songs replaced fences. Wealth measured through balance rather than accumulation. Grazing became negotiation with earth, not domination. Forests bordering the plains sheltered agricultural wisdom. Kikuyu ancestors cultivated harmony using slope, shade, and patience. Soil received care through ritual cycles. Seeds entered ground with intention. Harvest followed gratitude. Spiritual economy sustained physical continuity. No king ruled Nairobi's ancient ground. Authority emerged from elders, weather readers, healers, storytellers. Decision-making traveled through councils beneath trees whose roots remembered earlier councils. Justice relied upon restoration. Community breath synchronized survival. Trade passed silently, not through coins, but through exchange. Salt, iron knowledge, gourds, livestock, healing practices. Long routes connected hinterlands to distant coasts without conquest banners. Information traveled faster than armies ever could. Ironworkers forged tools beside rivers, using fire guided by prayer. Smelting rituals merged metallurgy with cosmology. Sparks reflected constellations. Creation mirrored sky order. Technology here never separated science from spirit. The land never slept. Even silence carried instruction. Wind direction taught navigation. Bird calls warned drought. Termite mounds mapped soil fertility. Nothing remained accidental. Centuries flowed. Generations layered memory upon memory. Then disruption arrived disguised as progress. Survey lines cut through ancestral intuition. Names replaced meanings. Rails ignored water wisdom. Yet beneath asphalt, the ground still remembers. Modern Nairobi pulses because ancient Nairobi never died. It adapted, it hid, it waits beneath matatus, markets, ministries. Every vibration echoes cattle bells, drum beats, rain chants. This city stands atop an archive without shelves. Every step activates history, unwilling to vanish. Nairobi isn't young. Nairobi is ancient, wearing a modern mask. Those who feel restless here aren't lost. They are responding to buried instructions. The land still speaks. The disruption did not arrive loudly. It came measured, smiling, documented, mapped. No thunder announced it. No prophecy was consulted. Foreign footsteps entered softly, carrying instruments instead of weapons at first. Measuring chains replaced listening ears. Ink replaced memory. The land watched strangers draw straight lines across curves shaped by rainfall and seasons. What could not be translated became dismissed. What could not be owned became renamed. Nairobi's ground felt the first wound when movement lost meaning. Cattle paths, once negotiated through patience, became obstacles. Wetlands that breathed life were described as wasteland. Silence was mistaken for emptiness. Knowledge without paper was declared non-existent. Then steel arrived. The railway did not simply transport goods. It rearranged destiny. Iron pierced soil without permission, cutting through ancestral corridors. Camps grew. Languages collided. Time accelerated. The land that once flowed now obeyed schedules. Nairobi transformed from passage into possession. People arrived seeking survival, not knowing they stood atop layered memory. Labor replaced livelihood, wages replaced reciprocity. The soil that once recognized footsteps now answered whistles. Progress demanded forgetting, and forgetting became policy. Administration followed infrastructure. Offices rose where councils once gathered beneath trees. Laws appeared that did not speak local rhythm. Identity became classified. Movement became regulated. Presence required permission. Yet disruption never fully succeeded. Because memory does not disappear, it compresses. Nairobi absorbed shock quietly. Indigenous communities adapted without surrender. Stories moved underground. Rituals disguised themselves. Resistance learned patience. Survival learned strategy. Markets formed as alternative systems. Songs encoded instruction. Humor softened trauma. Faith transformed into shelter. Creativity became defense. Nairobi refused erasure through reinvention. Colonial order attempted separation, but proximity bred exchange. Different ethnic rhythms met inside constrained space. Shared hardship forged unexpected unity. Urban Africa was born here, not imported but assembled through endurance. After flags changed, echoes remained. Power structures shifted faces, not foundations. Concrete expanded faster than healing. Education taught dates without context. Development spoke foreign grammar. Nairobi learned to run without resting. Yet beneath traffic, beneath ambition, beneath exhaustion, ancient signals persist. Why does this city never sleep? Because vigilance was learned. Why does creativity erupt everywhere? Because suppression sharpened expression. Why does Nairobi pulse restlessness? Because unfinished conversations still whisper. This city is not chaotic. It is layered. Every protest echoes earlier resistance. Every innovation answers historical constraint. Every hustle reflects inherited adaptability. Nairobi after disruption became a laboratory of survival intelligence. The ground still instructs those who listen. Those who feel unease are sensing unresolved memory. Those who feel inspiration are tapping buried power. Nairobi did not lose itself. It multiplied. And now another moment approaches, not of interruption, but of choice. Whether remembrance becomes foundation or repetition continues disguised as growth. Nairobi today does not introduce itself politely. It announces presence through movement, sound, urgency. Engines hum before sunrise. Sidewalks negotiate space. Screens glow early. The city wakes already thinking about tomorrow, even while yesterday tugs gently at its sleeve. This is a place built on layers, not erasures. Glass towers rise above soil carrying centuries. Fiber cables run across ancestral roots. Cafes operate beside fig trees older than records. Nairobi lives inside contradiction without apology. Memory here does not appear as nostalgia. It shows up as instinct. In how people bargain, in how humor disarms hardship, in how resilience feels ordinary rather than heroic. The city learned adaptability long ago. Modernity simply gave it new tools. Young minds shape Nairobi's present. Coders translate survival into software. Artists remix history into color, sound, motion. Designers pull patterns from heritage without explanation. Entrepreneurs invent answers where systems hesitate. Creativity here is not luxury, it is inheritance. Yet tension lives alongside brilliance. Inequality stretches streets unevenly. Opportunity glitters near exclusion. Development speaks loudly while listening quietly. Growth accelerates without collective pause. Nairobi races itself daily, unsure whether speed equals progress. Still, community persists. Markets remain meeting grounds. Music crosses neighborhoods. Faith gathers strangers into temporary families. Language bends, blends, evolves. Nairobi refuses singular identity. It exists as conversation. Politics pass through like weather. Sometimes violent, sometimes hopeful, always temporary. What remains permanent is the city's pulse. Even during uncertainty, people build. Even during doubt, ideas emerge. Even during exhaustion, laughter survives. Technology reshapes interaction. Phones compress distance. Stories travel faster. Narratives challenge authority. Visibility increases accountability. Nairobi adapts again, just as it always has. But beneath innovation hums an older question. What future honors memory without being trapped by it? Some answers appear quietly. Urban farms reclaim food sovereignty. Architects study climate before design. Educators rethink curriculum. Activists shift from protest to policy. Cultural preservation meets digital archiving. Nairobi experiments with balance. The city understands something essential. Forgetting costs more than remembering. Progress without context creates repetition. Growth without grounding fractures identity. So Nairobi stands at threshold, not between tradition and modernity, those already coexist, but between unconscious continuation and intentional direction. The next chapter depends on listening, to land, to youth, to history, to possibility. Nairobi now is not finished. It is deciding, and decision, more than destiny, will shape what comes next. Tomorrow does not arrive suddenly. It forms quietly through decisions repeated daily. Nairobi's future is already under construction, not only through buildings, but through thinking patterns, value systems, priorities, omissions. The ground beneath this city is not passive. It has endured footsteps, pressure, extraction, ambition, neglect. Still, it responds. Still, it carries. And now it asks, not through words, but through imbalance. Flooding where wetlands vanished. Congestion where pathways were ignored. Restlessness where meaning feels thin. Creativity where opportunity hesitates. The ground is asking for remembrance without romanticism, for progress guided by context rather than imitation, for development rooted in climate, culture, community, for leadership that listens longer than it speaks. Nairobi tomorrow will require unlearning. Not everything inherited deserves continuation. Some systems arrived broken. Some habits normalize exhaustion. Some ambitions repeat external validation cycles. The land asks for slower intelligence, planning that studies rainfall before architecture, transport designed around people, not prestige, housing that considers dignity beyond profit, growth measured by well-being, not only numbers. Youth hold responsibility heavier than history prepared them for, not as burden, but as opportunity. This generation has access previous eras lacked: information, technology, global reach. What matters is alignment. Innovation without ethics becomes extraction wearing modern clothing. Technology without accountability reproduces inequality faster. Education without relevance breeds disconnection. The ground asks for wisdom to walk beside knowledge. Culture must stop being treated as decoration. It is infrastructure. Language shapes cooperation. Art preserves truth. Storytelling maintains continuity. Erase these, and cities lose soul. Nairobi tomorrow needs custodians, not conquerors. Builders who ask permission from environment. Leaders who understand stewardship. Citizens who recognize shared fate. The future also asks for healing. Unaddressed trauma repeats invisibly. Silence passes pain forward. Acknowledgement creates space for repair. Economic systems must shift from survival to sustainability. Hustle cannot replace policy forever. Resilience should not be exploited. Creativity deserves protection. Nairobi's advantage is not location alone. It is adaptability earned through centuries. If aligned intentionally, this city can model African urban futures globally, not as copy, but as original. The ground does not ask for perfection. It asks for attention. Listen to how rain behaves. Observe how communities self-organize. Notice where people gather naturally. Respect rhythms that existed before zoning. Tomorrow's Nairobi will either deepen disconnection or mature consciousness. The choice unfolds quietly, meeting by meeting, vote by vote, design by design. The land is patient, but patience is not infinite. There comes a moment in every city's life when expansion stops being the question and meaning becomes the task. Nairobi is approaching that moment, not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, through accumulation. Empire thinks in height. Legacy thinks in depth. Empire asks how far influence can stretch. Legacy asks how long values can endure. Nairobi has seen both impulses pass through its body. It has watched ambition arrive wearing urgency. It has felt extraction disguised as opportunity. It has also witnessed care disguised as ordinariness. People choosing responsibility without applause. Beyond us lies a city shaped by decisions we may never see fulfilled. Roads built for unknown feet. Institutions formed for unfamiliar voices. Parks planted for children whose names remain unwritten. Legacy requires humility strong enough to act without ownership. The ground has outlived every ruler who claimed permanence. It has absorbed victories without celebration, losses without resentment. It remembers stewardship more than authority. What lasts is not command, but care. Nairobi beyond us must be designed for belonging rather than spectacle, for access rather than admiration, for continuity rather than headlines. Cities built as trophies age poorly. Cities built as homes endure. Education becomes the first inheritance, not merely certificates, but curiosity, not obedience, but discernment, not memorization, but ethical reasoning. A city that teaches its children how to think protects itself from manipulation. Environmental wisdom follows closely. Water systems aligned with seasons. Green spaces treated as necessity, not decoration. Construction that respects climate rather than challenges it. Legacy understands that survival depends on cooperation with natural systems. Economies must evolve beyond desperation. Work should dignify, not exhaust. Innovation should reduce inequality, not accelerate it. Prosperity measured through collective stability outlasts wealth measured through individual accumulation. Culture holds memory intact. Music carries instruction. Language transmits worldview. Art documents truth when archives fail. To neglect culture is to erase future orientation. Nairobi's creative spirit is not entertainment, it is preservation. Governance rooted in service outlives governance rooted in control. Transparency becomes inheritance. Accountability becomes tradition. Institutions survive not through fear, but through trust. The city beyond us will inherit unresolved questions. How it answers them depends on what we leave behind. Frameworks or chaos. Cooperation or fragmentation, wisdom or warning signs. Legacy asks for restraint, for listening, for long-term thinking within short political cycles, for courage to prioritize invisible benefits over visible praise. Nairobi's greatest contribution may not be dominance. It may be demonstration, showing how an African city grows without erasing itself, modernizes without forgetting, competes without consuming. Empire builds monuments. Legacy builds capacity. Empire demands recognition. Legacy earns remembrance. The ground does not need to be conquered. It needs to be understood. What we pass forward will speak long after our names fade from memory, and the city will respond accordingly.